Hey, Phil. In your years coaching in Philadelphia, what was your perception of the Michigan State rivalry? And then how has that changed or not changed now that you've been coaching in it these last few years?
Well, that's a really good question. I think from afar, I realized that those games, do you know what I mean? Like games, and I don't even know if there is a trophy in football, but in games that involve schools and there's a trophy in football, you think, oh, that's different, because it really is. It is that one game, and it's a featured game. And in basketball, with the excellence, Tom Izzo's program, and obviously with all that John Beilein accomplished here, I knew it was a really big game, and you could always tell by the placement. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you always saw this game on a Sunday, an NFL playoff Sunday, and it was this was a little different. Having been involved in it for 4 years, probably, I guess two of the years were normal, quote unquote, normal years, if there is such a thing as normal anymore in this world. It's much more amped up than I had the idea of. Like it's palpable. And it's not just these players that day, but former players come back. This is what they talk about. They talk about Michigan State, and I'm going, I'm missing this, man. We're playing Kentucky, and we play Carolina, and going back, we played Oregon and Virginia, and we went to the island and all those competitions. But once you get into this, and I just did Michigan State radio, and they said, how will Doug McDaniel handle it? I go, well, I don't know if he's ever played on a court that's shaking when he's dribbling the ball up the floor. Like, how do you prepare for that? How do you even tell somebody that that's real? But it's real. It's really, really, really cool. And to me, college basketball should be about memories. And this game and the game in Ann Arbor, and hopefully the third game in the Big Ten tournament, these are the games that create memories for a lifetime.
Hey, Phil, Andrew Kahn here. I'm wondering if you've seen actual examples of like better habits in practice or even in games since that Central Michigan loss, because players have kind of, I guess, alluded to it, but from your perspective, have you seen that?
Well, I've seen it, but I'll be honest with you. I think it gets measured. I think it gets measured on the road. I think that, and this has kind of mesmerized me all year. Our crowds have been unbelievable. The noise that they're making is unbelievable, and they have been so supportive. So Maryland and Penn State, we were a home team. We played like a home team. We had tremendous support. We had such tremendous support, and that pulled us through. Now let's see what happens when we go on the road. When everybody's not, when really it's whatever we travel with. We travel with 30 people. The 30 of us have to band together. But again, the Central Michigan game, we addressed the offensive rebounding. We went over it painfully, play by play on the offensive rebounding, and then it stopped. And then it was, okay, now we are preparing for Maryland. And we did go back to the future, so to speak, with some of our basic drills and addressing certain areas that we just couldn't repeat going forward. Stepping up into competition in the Big Ten, but practices have been productive, and the beauty is that we have to be better today than we were yesterday in order to be prepared for tomorrow.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Phil. You had a lot of praise for Howard Isley and Sadie Washington last year. Just how have you seen them grow as coaches during your time at Michigan?
That's a really great question. I think that everybody started out not quite sure how we were all going to blend together, and when's the right time to talk, and what is the vocabulary, because our vocabulary is different than Howard Isley's vocabulary his whole career, or Sadie Washington's vocabulary when he was with Greg Campy or John Beeline. So you had to learn, you had to go back to first grade and learn the language, so to speak. And what's the tempo like? How does it feel? And who do you bounce ideas off of? So that has been one, in that what I call finding their voice. Howard's a quiet guy, but finding his voice and the way that he interacts with these point guards is just absolutely extraordinary. And with Sadie, the defensive coordinator in this system is challenging. But I would say with Sadie, and it could have been from day one. I just didn't recognize it on day one. He's a really, really, really bright guy in basketball terms. He's a bright guy. I mean, I don't want to come across and say like he's not a bright guy, but he has a bright basketball mind, and he can see things and he can refer back to those things, if that makes sense. Like he can refer back to a practice situation with John Beeline and say, "Oh yeah, we did this drill," and how that would impact our team now. And just Howard Isley, it's just like, to me, his if it's the right word, acceptance of the college game, and realizing that, like, these guys are going to be imperfect, and the referees are going to be imperfect, and the setting for our team could be imperfect at times. He's just such a calm guy, and I will not walk away from the statement that I made. They are both future head coaches. It's just a matter of some AD looking and saying, you know what, that isn't just because Juwan Howard is a magician. It's the people surrounding Juwan Howard that have put Michigan in that blue blood category.
Coach, what improvements have you seen from Doug McDaniel as the year has gone along, especially now that he's become the starter with the Llewellyn injury?
Well, first of all, I would say better practice habits. He this is a kid that was in the 9th grade, was all league in one of the great leagues, high school leagues in America. And as he got older, maybe there was more playing than practicing. And he played for a terrific high school coach, Glenn Farella, played in a wonderful AAU program, Team Takeover. But I thought in the summer, he was really interested in playing. And in this program, you really need to be interested in practicing. And when he sought out competition, he was terrific. Now it's on him, and every single day, whether it's film study, keeping yourself organized throughout the day so you're not scrambling. You can get to your appointments. You can whether it's an academic appointment, whether it's a basketball appointment with Howard Isley or the scout coach, whoever that would be that for that game. But I just think like him having himself together day by day has really raised his level. But I think if you were looking for a basketball only, to me, it's his defensive disposition has changed dramatically since that first game against Eastern Michigan.
Phil,
Phil.
over your career, what have you learned from Tom Izzo, whether it's seeing him from afar or maybe these last couple of years, conversations you might have had with him before games?
Well, and hopefully this won't get anybody like bent out of shape or all wound up. Tom Izzo is a dear, dear, dear friend of mine, to the point that when I was let go at St. Joseph's, Tom Izzo was one of the first calls that I made. That was a team that he had that was making a run to the Final Four. He wanted me to get on a plane and to come join them just to get away. And I couldn't, I even forget where the Final Four was. And he said, come to the Final Four. And I was like, nah, I can't leave my family. I need to be with my family at this moment in time. He's a really, really, really close friend. And I think the number one thing is he loves the game and he loves the profession and he cares so deeply about the profession that if you are in and around and with him, as we have been on a number of NABC committees, the board of directors, we were on the board of directors for the most time together. I just appreciate the realness, and I get it. It's a fierce rivalry. It is a fierce rivalry. But in this case, for me, it's like, yeah, that's the guy down the street and he's a good player. And I was a good player, and we're going to go to the court and we're going to play and we're going to play and we're going to play and we're going to play. And some days I'm going to win, some days he's going to win. It's not going to change the fact that he's my friend down the street. But I think his love of the game and his love of the profession, just to me, is just absolutely extraordinary. Should be emulated by all young coaches out there.
Anybody have anything else? Alejandro?
Sure. I guess, Phil, if you're the scout on Michigan State, what has stood out to you about Michigan State?
Well, it's not my scout. It's Saudi's scout. But here's what stood out. But again, we all contribute. So I finished my third game today. And I would say the thing that stands out to me is what always stands out. When we walk on the floor tomorrow at 2:30, it is, yes, a basketball game. I get that. And skill will prevail. But you better go in there with a boxer's mentality. And there's no boxer out there that hasn't walked into one of their bouts and didn't have in their head, I am going to get hit. So our players have to realize they are going to get hit. And at that point in time, they have two choices. They can cover up and cower up, or you can hit back. I'm betting on hitting back. And in a boxer's mentality, you're going to stand toe to toe and you're going to kind of wail away at each other. And then the toughest, nastiest boxer walks out of the ring. The toughest, nastiest team needs to walk out of the Breslin Center tomorrow with a win. That's what it'll be like.
I've got a kind of random and general follow-up, but you've been around this game for a long time. We're in a position now where you have players like, an Adrian Nunez, a Hunter Dickinson, who can go and make money promoting themselves in different ways. How does your role as a leader of young men change when you're raising people who are both athletes, but also who are becoming personalities in a media sense?
Great point. And I'm going to say it goes back to this idea. We recruit them because they are terrific players, but we are responsible we are responsible to understand that when they come to us, no matter where they've come from, McDonald's All-American, transfer portal or whatever, they're young men. They're young men. And yes, our responsibility is to win, and hopefully win a lot, win championships and banners and nets and rings and all that other stuff that goes with that. But we are responsible for helping them become men, from young men, from helping them become better students than where they are today, and from be a better player than they are when they first come to you. This fits in that area. So whether it's educational, financial education, making sure that they have the means for that. Whether it's pulling their coat, so to speak, when you see them wandering and saying, you know, why are you hanging around with that person? Or, you know what, how are you handling your media presence? How are you handling your campus presence? So I don't think this changes. You know, Adrian Nunez, it didn't change. I always felt, and I've watched Juwan with all of our guys, that our responsibility is to be parental, right? And everybody out there knows a great parent tells you no when no is the appropriate answer, and they tell you yes when yes is the appropriate answer. It's no different. Look, Hunter is larger than life. His personality is larger than life. But today when we go to practice, he's a kid. He's a young man growing into manhood. So the first thing that I'm going to check with, Juwan will check with, is, have you eaten properly today? Did you get to your classes? Did you prepare for practice in terms of injury prevention or whatever it would be? We can't say, oh, yo, Hunt, how'd you do today? What'd you make? Like, make 2 more deals? You say 2 more crazy things? No, you have to deal with, like, is he a better person for having been with you on this particular day? Just like a parent does. When that kid puts his head on the pillow, did he have a good day or a great day? And how much did you influence that?
Thanks.
You got it.
I got one too, Tom.
If I may, go for it.
Kind of a silly question, but sometimes those get good answers, I guess. When the crowd is like screaming from the opening tip tomorrow, like, why can't, you know, your players just pretend they're rooting for them? I guess, you know, like, college basketball records on the road are not good, like, for all time. Are there things that, like, we don't even realize that make road games tough?
Well, it's the noise. Obviously, it's the noise. But did you ever notice this? The noisiest places have the best teams. So it always comes down to the players on the other team. You know what I mean? Like, going into some places and say, oh, that's a noisy place. Yeah, but their guys aren't that good. So I sports psychologist, I guess that's why they have a business. Here would be my, I saw a statement the other day, and I've always lived by this on the road. You want to play for their backs. If you're playing for the crowd's backs, you've won the game. Think about it. If you look up with minute left, 30 seconds left, and you see the backs of people leaving, people don't leave a game that they've won. They leave a game that they're losing. Play for the silence, man. Play for the silence. There's nothing better than silence on the road.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Yeah, very, very quickly. Sorry. Hey, Phil. So it was more of a follow-up to Alejandro's, and I guess he was asking a bit about Hunter and Nunez and stuff, and I'll just ask a little more directly about Hunter. Have you had any conversations, you or Juwan, about some of the the things that he has said specifically, I guess, Wisconsin, excuse me, like Wisconsin calling them scumbags, or calling Michigan State, I think it was a safety school. I mean, how was that handled, or is it just like what you're saying and Alejandro saying, you got to keep the whole bigger picture in mind, and it's sort of the new age that we're in now?
No, it's handled. I mean, it is certainly handled, and it's a different, again, because of the relationship that Jawan and Hunter have, that's their dealings, if that makes sense. Like that, Jawan is very clear with Hunter. Mine is more of a discussion-based thing. I really ask him one question: why? Just why? And you know, I've watched him play since he was in the 9th grade. I never knew that he had this much personality. So you'd like to say it's Hunter being Hunter, but there's conversations. Yeah, I'll put it that way. There's conversations.
Thanks.
All right. Anybody have anything else for Coach? All right, Phil, we appreciate your time. Have a great morning. We'll see you this afternoon at practice.
Thank you.